Hi everybody and welcome to this episode of Being Politely Rebellious in Pompey. We are super fortunate today to be welcoming Leone, the one and only.
How's it going, man?
Good. Yeah. How are you?
I feel good. It's a muggy day, but
I know, it's horrible, isn't
spirits
it?
are up.
I know. It's like, where's the sun?
It's not coming for another
It's
couple.
not, is it? We just need to get over it and just be ready for when it does come.
Basically.
Yeah, have the garden furniture cleaned, ready to go. So Pompey, this is going to be your first full year in Pompey. So you moved down almost 12 months ago now.
Yeah, like last March.
How have you found that transition?
It's been very strange because like when it was happening, it was so done out of necessity that I was worried, but I was just do it, just take the jump.
Yeah.
Like my girl's pregnant, her family, like her main support system is like so far from here in London. So we came up and to be honest, the transition's been crazy in regards to just the different places, just the difference between London and Portsmouth.
It sleeps, right? That's the difference, is that Pompey by a certain time, everyone's in bed, or they're at least at home, there's no public transport,
5 p.m,
past like 11 o'clock, like it's crazy. Whereas London's one of those places, it never sleeps, right? It's literally a lot of areas, it's on the go 24 hours.
All the time, man. So
your first son was born, because you've just welcomed your second bubby to the world, right? He's a week old, little Noah. But your first bubby was born in London.
Yeah, last March.
Yeah.
So from there we kind of came up or whatever and
making it down to the south, be by the beach.
Yeah, man. And I think the slowest or the craziest thing for me is obviously the difference in speed. Just how things are here compared to how they are in London. I feel like London's chock-a-block and I'm quite used to
being
that, like
go.
Whereas here it's like, man, it's a small like island kind of vibe, and it all works internally. So it's a lot slower, just like how people are used to like doing stuff, you know.
And I think in London, in major cities, like you'll have a meeting with somebody and it'll be like, right, let's do X, Y, and Z. And it'll be like, right, let's go. Let's get it done then, because then I've got to be on to the next one. Whereas here, I find it's more like you'll have a meeting and then maybe you'll have a meeting about the meeting. You know? And it's like, no, let's just go. Let's just get this done. What was life like for you then? So your parents are from Sierra Leone. Came here during the Civil War. So you and your sisters were born in London. Tell us about where you grew up.
I was born in Lewisham and lived in Peckham for the first 14 years of my life. At a time where Peckham was kind of dark, but it had there's a lot of Africans immigrating. Like, it's funny, I'm from Sierra Leone and a lot of people don't know this, but like Peckham is like the capital of England for Sierra Leoneans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like people are in Sierra Leone, like I just want to see Peckham, you get me? Because it's the only place I can walk past and just hear my language being spoken. It's the only place where that actually happens. So Peckham is a mecca of Sierra Leonean people, which is just a fun fact. But we lived in Peckham, and it was a fun like African upbringing. I'll be honest with you, I almost feel like I thought that white people were the minority when I was like 7.
Yeah, but sometimes in London, it can be like that, right? And even other cities around England now, you know, they are becoming way more diverse.
Yeah. You know, like even when people started talking about like gentrification and things like that, like at first I was like with the outrage, but I was just naive, because then I realized, I was like, damn, son, what was like, okay, so the Africans were there in this bit, but who was there like 40 years before that? Because I guess when you say gentrification, that makes me feel like my place is being taken, but it's like, if it was my place before your place and your place, it's all getting a bit long-winded, and I'd rather just stay out of it. But it's definitely interesting, because I had such a black upbringing. Like, it was so black, like in church was full of black people. The only places that were white was really school, and like, with school, I was like the one black kid in my class that was in between the two groups of like the black kids and the white kids.
Right, okay.
I think because they got on with other parents got on with my parents, because they was like humble, educated, like very like they made me look good and I made them look good or something. So I had a bit of different kind of things going on. But it was just
like integrated.
From quite early,
mixed with everybody.
Like I've got my favorite rock band on my thing. It's kind
Sum 41. No way. way.
Yeah, like it's kind of faded.
I was not expecting that.
It's kind of faded,
I
but
was
like
not expecting that.
Yeah,
You and my son are gonna get on so well.
but that's like come from, I'll be honest, like the time I spent young with a lot of those like white kids from Dulwich. They gave me those kind of cultures, like the rock, and I got to experience it with kids who had it passed down from their parents. You know what I mean? So it was like, but like in year 6, I'm pretty sure I bought a girl the Avril Lavigne Skater Boy album. Like that was the stilo. I was a skater before anything. When it came down to it, like the skater kind of grunge.
So you were a real like blend of all these different cultures, and you know, I think that that's a really good example of somebody who's proud of their culture and their heritage, but who's also really willing to embrace the culture and the environment that they are born into. And so you moved from Peckham though at some point, right?
Yeah, man. By the time I was like 14, my sister was getting in trouble. She had like held something for like a gang member or something.
Was she older?
Yeah, she was like 15, 16, naive, like young girl at the time. Somebody got her to hold something and she ended up getting in a youth offenders type situation and that. And my parents were just like, nah, man, like we don't want that for Ian because he's a boy, so it'll be worse. And I was already like starting to kind of come home from school at like 8 p.m. in like start of year 9 or something, and like I was already in school like kind of writing like Peckham SE15 like on the wall in school and stuff, so wasn't looking too good, man. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't looking
You were
great.
dabbling.
Yeah, I was dabbling with.
You were thinking about it.
So they was like, yo, we got to get him out of here. And then we moved to East London, which in a weird way, it's like, I guess they thought that they moved to like this really nice area. But I will say it was better than Peckham. Like, but they thought that they moved to like, oh man, we've like saved our son. It's like, we live in a house now, but you can see that block and that block can see me. Eventually they're going to come knocking for me. Just didn't know it yet. So yeah, that was, with being in East, it was like, okay, on an African scale, it was like, oh, we've moved from like somewhere to a better place. But on a scale of British poverty, now I was in cahoots with like the Irish kids who were in poverty and the black kids. So it's me, the black kid, and then the Asian kids who weren't like under their families like jurisdiction and were smoking and like touching each other in the park, you know what I mean? So it was like a whole new kind of, rather than it just being a black degradation and that, it was like now we're in East London and there's like,
it's so diverse.
there's cultural madness happening here. And
did you start to see like the gang affiliation stuff in East more than you did when you were in Peckham?
A bit of both. I think I didn't get to see it in Peckham because of my age, but I was basically all the kids who ended up being in the gang, some of them who went to jail for a long time, these were the boys that were on my football team. And I remember when we were going to a football match one time, and a coach who was just like an older boy from Peckham, I remember we was in the back of the car and he was like, he turned around, he was like, yo, hey you lot, you know when you got beef, make sure you don't leave your boy. And like, I was just quiet because I'm like, I ain't even had no beef yet, to be fair. But the two boys that I was with, who may I add, both ended up going to jail like in the long run for guns, all of that. They was already saying, bruv, ask for me, like I ain't leaving. So, because they was already allowed to play out. I wasn't allowed to play out when I was in Peckham because my parents were scared.
Okay.
But yeah, so I just couldn't get involved in it. But when I moved to East, it was on my doorstep, and I still didn't get involved because I think my mission was music. I wanted to be cool and just do music. But the gang stuff came with just like how people perceive you as a black man and who sees you as their opposition or their enemy, and a lot of times,
which even in music, right? That's prevalent.
Man.
You know, and I think that there's a lot of rivalry that comes off the back of the music. And is that something that you started to experience quite early on?
Yeah. Because with grime, it's a little bit different, but also the same. Like, because grime and drill, the two different genres. Like, and grime was more like the MCing, and like it's come from garage, like. Whereas drill is like has come from America and is about killing people, like flat line in the middle. Like I liked people like Wiley and that when I was young because they used to make some motivational songs about get off your ass, do something with your life. Like one of my favorite songs for a mentality, like from growing up, is a song from like Wiley and his crew called Roadie, and it's called Pick Yourself Up. And at the start is a voicemail from a girl cussing off her boyfriend saying, we can't afford to go out, we don't do anything, why don't you just get off your and it's like, so that was the music that we would listen to, that Graham gave us that kind of identity.
It's got lost in, and I know that this is something that we were talking about a little bit off camera, where, you know, you've got this kind of cultural thing now where people who are in their 30s and in their 40s who can be looked up to by the younger generations as, you know, they've made it. And so therefore they have a responsibility because they are able to like easily influence the younger generations, but they're using those platforms not for good.
Yeah.
They're using the platforms to talk about drugs and to talk about, you know, knives and guns and stuff like that. And the empowerment stuff's been lost a bit.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, like that's where I've kind of like, obviously I used to be called Maxsta and now I'm called Leone or whatever, but I changed my name to like have my real first name and then something else, mainly because I realised that I'd spent my youth following this culture, being a young person in it, looking up to older people who would maybe give me the wrong advice, maybe tell me it's better to fight someone or it's better to maybe stab back than get slapped. Like that's probably the sort of advice I would have got. Like I grew up.
That's like prison mentality, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
man. Yeah.
It's like, you know, usually that's the type of stuff that you might be forced into learning as a young man or woman because you find yourself in
the
prison,
grid,
right?
Yeah, but no, like...
So, you know, if someone gives you a rollie, then you have to give two back. Do you know what I mean? That type of thing. But that seems to have seeped out onto general street life.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, so I had to change my name and something because I just felt like a part of my old life was very attached to
Maxsta.
negative connotations, like trying to be street, trying so hard to like look.
Yeah, but then if you're trying to make it in the music industry and you know that that's what sells because that's what's become the popular, then how do you... It's hard not to get sucked into that, right?
Yeah.
And you were really young when you got your record
deal. So I do forgive myself. But like now with age and like I'm like, man, I got a big problem with like Western world black culture. I really do. So I can't just be jumping up and down and stuff and anymore. Because I got to a point where one of the last projects I did, Stormzy was like playing it on his Instagram story, like playing my songs and that, and it's like just after that I broke away, like. And where most people were like, what are you doing? Like, you're so close. But I realized something. I was like, I'm so close to like even seeing what the top of this looks like that I can tell you, I know I don't want to be there. Like, based on, I know people that's been there. Like, when Tinchy Shredder was famous, I was like one of the little boys, like, hanging around with him, like running around with him. I had the same manager as him. I got to shadow, like I've seen all of this stuff, and it's like guys like Tinchy, actually I've never seen nothing from him that I didn't like in terms of he's just a great gentleman person, good like role model and how you carry yourself. But like man, there's the rap culture is not for me, man. And then I'm having kids now and all this stuff. So I realize it's so detrimental. Like it's detrimental to black youth. It's detrimental to white youth. But like, for me as a person, it got to a point where I'm like, man, if I'm not a gangster who's going out and doing mad things, which if I was, you'd want to keep it quiet anyway. But if I'm not, because I know what's happening and I can see like these kids who are taking this lifestyle and like doing it to the max just because of like clout and social media and like getting themselves in trouble in ways that they can't come back from. It's like, man, I have to be part of the fight to like, even if I only ever saved one kid, I have to be part of the opposite energy. Like say like in Portsmouth, there's people coming up from different areas giving people drugs. I was like, I'm gonna come up and give them music videos. Like,
so you got a record deal with Sony.
Yeah.
You had Stormzy sharing your stuff.
Yeah.
Your Maxsta about to hit it to the top, but suddenly there's this kind of emotional crisis inside of you because you suddenly look at things from a different perspective and go, no, actually, if I do this and if I go harder, I'm actually becoming part of the problem. Yeah. That's powerful though, isn't it? That's really brave.
Yeah.
That's that must have been so scary.
My old manager dropped me straight away. He's like, I can't work with you because like, and like some people were saying, I think he's gone a bit. Like,
Like he needs to be locked up.
Yeah,
like he's flipping the script too much.
I think he's gone a bit mad. And man, like...
That's sad though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's sad. So like you're punished basically for wanting to be a positive influence and a positive role model.
Man. And like for me, it was like, it got to a point where I realized like my normal speaking voice sounds like this, but like maybe 5 years ago in an interview, I'd be more like, man, you know, like obviously...
your teeth and all that, fam.
And obviously them, man, and this, but like... And it's like the moment in life when I started saying, like I'm gonna talk like bro, people started telling me I sound like a nerd. People started telling me I sound like a white boy. People started saying all this stuff, and I'm like, man, imagine that. Imagine I can't even in a room full of like black people who like modern rap music sometimes that I can't even say, oh man, that's great. Like, this is really cool.
This is,
like, because it's like,
and then it's really hard to then find your place, right? It's really hard to find the space that you belong. I mean, I studied English at uni because I wanted to learn to speak better English.
Yeah.
So I'd grown up on a council estate. I was very pompy.
Yeah.
And I used to listen to other people who I'd come across in life who spoke proper English, not necessarily Queen's English, but I remember just being really fascinated with I say water and you say water. I've just found it so interesting. So I studied it for 3 years, so I totally get that. But and I mean, I remember going into a school last week actually to have a meeting about the next generation stuff that we're working on, and loads of kids came in who had been in detention, and all these lads walked in, and we're in Pompey, right? And they were all talking like bruv and fam and spitting their teeth, and I was just like, we're in Portsmouth, like stop it, just stop. Like it's done, it doesn't help you, it's not gonna help you. Like if you want to progress and stuff, right, on a legitimate level, just speak the way your parents speak to you, you know?
Because I was having real struggles with that, like people telling me I sound white made me feel like I don't sound like myself. And,
like you lose your identity.
And then it made me hate my voice for a bit. And like, those were times when I wouldn't even tell people my real name was Ian because that would make it worse. It's like, you sound like that and your name's Ian. Like, you're taking a piss. Take off the mask.
Named after Ian Bill from EastEnders.
Named after Ian Bill from EastEnders. So it was like... Yeah, man, it was a lot for me, but I think those things made it so there were some rooms I could never just like, I always would have to be somebody else to fit into that scenario perfectly for everyone else. And as an adult, it's been so freeing to kind of finally like let go of that. Yeah.
So how long ago did you kind of drop the Maxsta thing?
Like 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. Just after the last bit of work, man. Just after the last bit of work, and then I spent these recent couple years just kind of like literally studying like Black culture, trying to figure out who the hell I am, like trying to like understand like why do we say Wagwan but I'm African, like, you know, like just all these different things, trying to understand, okay, because like Jamaicans came first, kind of set a blueprint for what you know to be the Black British experience in terms of like Wagwan fam and and all these different things. And then I realized, damn, none of these things have anything to do with my bloodline, my original plot. Like,
nothing.
So it's like, all right, cool, man. This is how I'm going to go out then. I'm going to have to go out sounding like how I sounded in primary school. And whoever it doesn't fit in with, then that's not the people that I'm supposed to like.
But you're on your journey, you're on your mission.
Yeah.
So music was obviously a massive part of your life, and it still is. You've eventually come to Portsmouth to build some foundations and roots for you and your family and your children, which is super, super brave. And you ended up going to uni and doing, is it music production?
Yeah. So my graduation for the degree is actually like next month.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then
wow.
I'm doing a master's now in creative entrepreneurship, but I'm not going to lie, I'm only doing it because they gave me a scholarship, not because I'm smart, because they said anyone who signs up this year gets a scholarship. They was doing bad, you get me? So
opportunity, landing you that, why would you say no?
Yeah, so basically, I'm just doing it because...
Why not?
Yeah, because I get...
It'd be crazy not to. Like, your parents living in Sierra Leone, no one's ever going to have come to them and gone, here you go, you can have this master's. No, so if that opportunity is given to you, you take it, right?
And to be fair, before that, I had to, because I faffed about like college, because that was when music was starting to kick off, so I cut out. When I decided to come back, be an adult learner, there was like, you got to do a diploma first. So I did a diploma, then I did the degree, and like it's like been this whole... So that was like the last 6 odd years, because the diploma was 2 years. Like, so I've had to fight to kind of get back on track.
But graduation, man, you're going to be so proud when you're stood there. It's such a moment. I didn't graduate till I was like 25, 26. So like a mature student. Next month, you got your master's on the way. And then in amongst all of that, you've also registered a community interest company, which is how we've come into contact with each other, because we're looking to do our bit for the next generation. Listen up. Tell us a bit about Freedom Fighters.
Yeah, so Freedom Fighters UK CIC is a digital arts education and mental well-being company, and basically the aim is like in the years to come, really, I want my own, like, I want small schools that kind of teach music, teach video production, but from a different cultural standpoint, with a more diverse curriculum in regards to like in Portsmouth. If you wanted to, you couldn't do a course on sampling, like on like machines and stuff. But that's like one of the biggest parts of black music in the Western world. Like all the biggest hits have been made by producers who have used drum machines, and so why can't you study one? Oh, it's like, okay, this is where Freedom Fighter UK comes in, kind of leveling and bringing balance in the curriculum. But really, you got the education side, that's one thing. And then the mental health is like the other part, but I think it's more important almost than the education in regards they meet each other halfway, but it's so much more important. And it's like the mental health thing. When I moved here, I realized that these kids, like black kids, white kids, they're suffering from like disenfranchisement from like the British culture that their parents have. They're suffering from lack of opportunity. Like they're suffering from like people coming up and using towns like this as like, hey, like I'm going in London, we call it cunch. So people come up here, they're going cunch and they're infiltrating areas like this and turning these little kids into like super drug sellers from the ages of 12, 13, and like coming from London, I realized that, oh man, you know what, I care about this problem. And if I could be part of helping to balance it for some people, changing some lives, this is where it's at for me. So we've got a whole kind of thing going. We've got a youth club that starts in the Guildhall Mondays, 3:30 to 7:30, music and mental health sessions, where in the music rooms we'll have our artist development program going, and then in the main room we'll have well-being sessions with some targeted different groups like young mothers and like kids at risk of like knife crime or but like instead of it just being like, hey, like we're all sat around the circle and this is our problem, it's like people like myself being in that circle with them, talking about stuff, and then turning that session into artwork at the end, like doing like an hour or two on their mental health, and then 2 hours of working on their like kind of project which they'll spend the year working on, and it could be anything from like a video about your family, it could be a book, it could be like, but it's digital arts. So we're using digital arts to combat like the decline in mental health, and you know, just like what kids are facing today, which is just a lack of opportunity and hope
and aspiration, right? There's just a huge lack of aspiration, and I think that it's going to take more Ians and more Kashirs,
a lot more hands on deck,
kind of get on board with it and understand that there's a huge gap there for the children in kind of amalgamating, you know, that education with real life, like, and the reality of real life opportunities. So it's pretty, I mean, it's big stuff. And I mean, the CIC world, I mean, it's no easy feat, is it? It's not for the faint of heart. No, not at all. So it's a battle. And I know you model as well, right? You've done some modeling. How does the world of modeling compare to the world of music? Because those are two industries that in the grand scheme of things are different, but at the same time probably come with a whole host of positive and negatives, right?
Yeah, the pros are, for both of them, I think the pros are like the sociable world that you're in when it's positive, and like the opportunities and like, I don't know, at this point, I don't even care about the pros, because I was about to say like clothes and stuff, but like obviously we all like clothes, but like I probably cared about it more when I was like really caring for that stuff. But I'd say it's funny with music and modeling. Obviously, it's all image based and it's all very like click based, but there's like different types of clicks that you have to like connect with and stuff. And I think with modeling, music, there's a lot more scope for freedom and expression. Yeah. Because you're the artist, you're da-da-da. With modeling, one thing I didn't like was I felt like, so they was basically like, my agent was like, look, just like, obviously you dye your hair and stuff, like you'll get work and stuff, and obviously did it and I got loads of work, like, but it's like they kept trying to just like, I didn't feel like I could, not obviously when you're modeling you're not going to be yourself because you don't necessarily choose to wear those clothes, but I just felt like with the modeling thing I had no control, and it was more like, if I'm just a normal black guy like this with my hair normal, like how my culture is used to it, it felt like that's not always good enough in this day and age. Like you need to adhere to like the levels of flamboyance that they're going for, and obviously that's cool, but I just thought it's a shame that it's like, if I dye my hair pink right now, I'll get modeling jobs because I make, and because I understand marketing, I know why that is. It's because it's like we'd rather have an approachable kind of looking, we want approachable, like this is the approachable looking black guy of today. Like you see them in a lot of adverts with their colourful hair. And I thought, oh man, modeling.
You know what? I've never looked at it that way. Like, I get it. Like the psychology behind it makes so much sense.
Yeah, but then I had to deep. It's like I don't know that many people that's actually doing that on a normal day. So why is that to people who aren't black such a prevalent representation? Because it's safer. Like, and then I realized, that's a difference in modeling. In some sense, you're going in saying, man, I sell my soul to whatever is going down. Because it's not about you. Like,
it actually sounds to me that you have gone from living the first part of your life where you're willing to do what you've got to do to get to where you think you need to be, because that's what society tells you, right? So you've gone into the music industry, you've gone into the modelling industry, and you've gone, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z because that's the norm and that's what you want me to do, and that's how I'm going to make it, right? That's how I'm going to make it. How I'm going to get to, I guess, what everyone else deems as success. And then you've gone, actually, no, I just want to be me. I just want to be me, and I want to be free. And I want to do what feels right in my soul. Where I know I've noticed that you've got free tattooed in a few places actually. Where does that stem from? Is that part of the...
It's like freedom fighters really. But it's also because like, I'm kind of like, I guess as Ian Leone, I kind of rebranded myself in a way to like, look like what I care about in a sense of like... I don't know, I just wanted to represent myself a bit more, like represent what I think about with some of these things. So the ethos, it was about being free because that's what I didn't feel. And I didn't feel free for so long, and I knew I wasn't free. And it felt like being in a glass box shouting and just like, no one can hear you, but like to everyone else, you're just part of the room, you know what I mean? That's how it felt. So it was more like abandoning that feeling like anything's better than like succumbing to fear or like just getting cloned and being like another clone in society and stuff. So it was like this is a stay free, and that's a reminder to me to like stay free of the rhetoric, stay free of the BS that's nothing.
Be politely rebellious.
Yeah, exactly. It's politely rebellious in a different way. It's like stay free because it's not saying go and riot. It's saying
I'm just going to do what's right for me.
Yeah. So and then the capital of Sierra Leone is called Freetown because that's where a lot of slaves were taken when they came back from America or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of like it represents me in a different way, kind of like clinging to the
What would you say is like, how has the public received Ian Leone?
Do you know what?
And the rebirth.
It's funny, man, because obviously like I had a lot of grime fans and stuff like on the ground saying stuff like he's being really fruity now and stuff like that. But it was like, for instance, I had Ed Sheeran tell me when he saw me, he was like, yeah, like you're gonna like this Ian Leone thing is like it's a thing, like he's like in a couple of years you're gonna like sell out stadiums and and anyone who doubts you right now is gonna see you then. And
sorry, you said Ed Sheeran. You say that like it's perfectly normal. Like
I've known him for so long, that's why.
You had a conversation with him like on the phone?
Nah, I went to go model at one of his videos like 2 years ago.
Right.
And then he knows me. I've known him for a long time. So when he saw me, I wasn't going to be like, yo, Ed, what going? But when he saw me, he was like, and he's like, oh, hey, like, Maxsta, like,
put the two together.
And he's like, oh, what's going on? Like, I'm like, I'm doing this now. He's like, oh, I'm going to check your music out. When I get in the trailer, like, in a break. And then when he came back, he was like, yo, man, like, saying all this stuff, yeah. And long story short, when I came home, Travis Barker was looking at my Instagram because Ed Sheeran told him to.
Right.
So I looked so that was surreal, it was cool. But then, so that was one reaction to Ian. And then there was like, I had a meeting with Beyonce's dad.
As you do.
And he was like, this guy is great, like something. And then...
As in Ian Leone
Yeah. He was like, Ian Leone is great, like something. And then he was like, oh, you know, we've got this new record label, like, and then there was another situation where I was about to sign a record and all this stuff. And it was like, what happened was, in a short space of time, I realized, right, like, you are talented, like, it is transferable to different things.
Yeah.
But you still don't want to do this
necessarily
like in this way.
you don't want to be the face.
Yeah, you don't want to be
on the front cover of let's just go old school magazines or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Where you're then being criticised.
Yeah. I'm cool with that because it's like, even growing up, like I remember I had a stint where I was modelling for Adidas. I was my face was like on the side of all the big buses, like, and in Brick Lane, Aldgate Station, there's a big billboard. Like I was on that big billboard. I was on the billboards in Peckham. So I've had this notoriety here and there with, especially for people my age, like who know me. And it's been like, maybe if I didn't have it, I might still be yearning for it. But because I've scratched that itch and got to see it, like I've had all the AAA passes you could want, and I've not queued up to go to the clubs, and I'm like, you know what, mate? Ultimately, at the end of it, unless there's a goal, it gets very like soul destroying to even want to to be addicted to praise in that level of public opinion, and to play such an opinionated sport where it's like, in football, you score, you win. In this thing, it's more like, oh, was that good? Was it not? Oh, what's the trend now? And I'm not with all of that, because I'm like, I've given my life to that already. Now I've got kids, and I just feel there's a calling for me to do better and help other people. And the next time I make music, probably be in like 2-3 years. But I'd rather put some money to the side and do whatever even if I say I'm doing a little project, I'd rather just do those things, like the Ed, and I didn't think that anyone would necessarily care for me breathing new life and doing something completely different. So when I did it, it was such a massive like tick in hair that it got to a point where I was like, I don't think it's the right time though. Yeah. And even if it's never the right time, I can look back on everything I've done and be like, as a person who's just a child of an immigrant, I'm like, yo, you actually smashed it, because you've pivoted it to where now your sons grow up with like, you had no art. You had no art in your family. You had no like, the only things that your dad could do other than being there was get you a bike when it was time for a bike. You know what I mean? Like, there was no, as an African man, he didn't have the culture in life to ever be like, I used to take pictures of birds, so I've got this really da-da-da, or I used to play the guitar. Now my kids have got all the instruments in their house. They got drum machines, and they got a dad who's got loads of cameras and stuff like that, and cares about them. And I think, you know what, I've culturally, I've got as much out of one generation culturally to like flip it as you kind of can. Well, I can get more, but you know what I mean? Like I've done a great start.
I mean, let's not talk like it's over.
Yeah. That's my point. Like, you know it's like there's still.
What I would say though is like, anyone out there who has supported Maxsta or supported Ian Leone and understands the rebirth, get behind him, because the community interest company that he has set up, Freedom Fighters, as an owner of a community interest company, it's not going to get anywhere without the support of other people. Serious. So, you know, people need to get behind that message. Go and follow Freedom Fighters. You know, if you can chuck a bit of money towards the crowdfunder, then do it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you've got someone like Ian, who is a phenomenal role model. You know, give yourself a pat on the back. You are absolutely phenomenal.
Took a while to get there, but yeah, I feel good about it.
Time is, right now, time is of the essence, right? You've got there. That's the important thing, and you're ready to switch everything up for the greater good of the next generation, and that's so powerful. And I tell you something now, I am so freaking glad that Pompey has you. Like, how lucky are we that, like,
I feel honestly
the rebirth has landed you here to help our children and our next generation. Like, thank you.
I feel extremely grateful. I think this is all meant to be happening as it is, because it's like, there's been some months where I felt like, oh man, I don't know what's going on in Portsmouth and but then there's sometimes where I connect with companies like yourself and people like you, Jude, where it's like, and even Jinx, Music Fusion, my lot over there, and like some people at the Guildhall, but most importantly, connections like our conversation and what we're doing, it's I definitely don't feel alone, like in what I'm doing. I actually feel like
part of the tribe type thing, you know? Because at the end of the day, you know, we can't get there on our own, right? We need to help each other and help, and like, we need your help too, guys. So step it up. But I'm going to take it down a notch, and I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions, Ian. There's no right or wrong answers.
Cool.
First, I'm going to ask you, what would you say is the most politely rebellious thing you've ever done?
Politely rebellious. Sifting through the files, but I'm gonna keep it. I think it's kind of funny, but like I remember when my mum tried to get me to go to uni first.
Right.
Didn't want to go, but they had me studying a foundation year of a science degree.
Yeah.
So eventually started saying I was going. This was when I was way younger. I started saying I was going, and I was like hid in a small cupboard in my room for the whole day.
Just like hiding. Yeah, mum,
and
I'm
like
going to that lecture
and then when
science.
she would like go out the house,
you'd get out the cupboard.
Then I could maybe go get a little juice. I was stocked up in that little cupboard though, like had wings in there, all types. But yeah, that was
how long
like,
did it take them to realise that you weren't
going? Oh man, I don't know. I got caught and then I filled in the blanks.
Yeah.
But it was a good little. It was like 2 months.
Really?
It was a long time. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But at the time, it was proper like I don't get science. You just pushing it on me because I can get into the course. But like
it's not what you're not feeling it.
And then other than that, I'd say I've always been a bit of a polite rebel man in general. Just always disrupting in some way. Like always like being like, but what about this?
Yeah,
if
make
I can.
some noise, innit? Make some noise.
Yeah, and I'd consider I've got really polite as I got older, like because I think I started polite. It's like that.
Yeah, it's gone full circle. Polite, rebellious, then politely rebellious. I mean, that's what tends to happen. Right? We evolve, we kind of grow our wings, we become more mature. Absolutely. But what we want to do, and I think that you'll agree with this with both of our community interest companies, is that we want to get in front of the children ASAP to tell them what being politely rebellious is, right, and what this type of mindset of being a freedom fighter is. It's, we've done the rebellious stuff and the polite stuff, and we're telling you just take the polite path. You don't need to do the rebellious stuff. I almost swore them. Anyway, we said we'd take it down a notch and we didn't. We got deep again, but it is what it is. So, modelling or music?
Music for sure.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, like I feel like I'm not really into the modelling thing like that because it's just something to make money, to be honest. Like I never. It's boring, man. It's like standing about, innit?
Hi.
Standing about, man. Honestly, standing about, being told to like, then move your hand like this and relax your face. And I'm like, fam, man's like relaxed, so you can't tell me. Like, do I look like I'm trying to take a shit? Like, what's going on?
Good experience, but no more.
So music for sure.
Love that.
It's way more of an outlet.
Chocolate or crisps?
Chocolate for sure.
Really? What's your favourite chocolate bar?
Twix.
Really?
Like,
my God, Charlie.
Between like Twix and Snickers, but
you're
like
gonna be best friends.
Twix,
for the win.
And
and the little ones are just never enough, really, are they?
No, they're not. It's a piss take.
It really is. Insta or Snap?
Oh, I've never been on Snapchat much, so Instagram. Yeah. People always tell me, it's going off on there.
Yeah. And we've agreed that Pompey isn't quite as forward as London, and we're still very much in our Facebook era. So
I'm
Ian's
going to
set
make a
up
Facebook account.
Yeah. Maxsta or Ian?
Ian.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. All day. Yeah.
Winning. And your final question: fish or chips?
Oh, what, like one or the other?
Yeah.
Fish. Fish. Because there's so many ways fish can go.
Yeah, fair enough. If you had like traditional fish from the fish and chip shop and you just had fish, would you still put salt and vinegar on it?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Depends if it's good enough or not, right?
Maybe, yeah, maybe not.
Well, look, I am super chuffed that you've
great
chosen
conversation.
Pompey as your home. Most importantly, well done on all your achievements, and I cannot wait to see what happens with Freedom Fighters.
I'm excited. Thank you for having me on here, and just thank you for allowing me to show how politely rebellious I can be.
Yay!